economics, politics, political analysis, geostrategy. Today, I have the pleasure and honor to welcome Mr. Haris Georgiades, who's the former Minister of Finance of the Republic of Cyprus and the President of the Georgiades Institute. My name is Dr. Marios Efthymiopoulos. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Strategy International. And this is Prime Analysis. Dear Mr. Georgiades, dear Haris, thank you very much for joining us here at another Prime Analysis of Strategy International.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a great pleasure and honor to have you here with us with a discussion that I hope that our audience will enjoy with a large experience of a personality that has made an impact vis-a-vis the Republic of Cyprus and the positiveness, if you want, with regards to the political economy and the development of the Republic of Cyprus within the European Union.
Well, thank you once again, and I do look forward to our discussion.
So it is a modus operandi, if you want, of our Strategy International, that we usually start with the life of our speaker, our invited speaker. So we're starting with the life of Haris, the young student, the just graduated from school with a lot of dreams. Why don't you tell us a bit about your life and some milestone that you consider that these milestones have made an impact vis-a-vis your later on political life, if you want?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there is anything outstanding in my life, but so I was born and raised in Nicosia. My father was in education. He was a teacher and a schools inspector, and my mother worked at the tourist board. So I was born, raised in Cyprus, Nicosia. Early years, I grew up early years after the 1974 invasion, so I was too young then, but you can say that I grew in the period after the invasion with all
the prospects and perspectives, but also
with everything that this meant. I graduated from the English school, and what became clear was, not that I was able to, let's say, to foresee my involvement in politics and the economics.
But you had an interest, probably because
yes, and this led me to study a joint degree in international relations and economics. I would say both came handy, but it was indicative of my interest in politics, let's say in the broader sense, both academically and as a practitioner later on.
Right. One of the things that come very vividly vis-a-vis all the speakers that have come here is their experiences in their educational life really mattered, and the contacts of the people and the influence that they had vis-a-vis what was happening. So one of the main things that we distinguish is the 1974 illegal invasion of Turkey into Cyprus has really made an impact on people wishing to be more involved in the political situation.
I think this is the case. This applies in my case. Why did I decide to study international politics and also become politically active? I think if there is one
element,
it's not a single issue, but if I were to name one, I read the books, the 4-volume series of Galafkos Skliridis. I could never imagine that years later I would be chairman of the Policy Institute, which bears his name, but reading a volume every summer during summer holidays
an
as a teen,
Yeah.
I think tilted the balance for me to, first of all, to study politics and to eventually join the Cleridis party. And this relates directly to the 1974 invasion, this, let's say, this catastrophe which which Cyprus faced and which shaped our lives and also the fate of this country. So you're right. I am a post, let's say, 1974 Cypriot.
Definitely.
Yes.
But I think also your actions have made an impact, and we'll come back to all of those elements when we discuss, if you want, a bit of politics, a bit of economics as Minister of Finance, the challenges ahead, and so on. So tell us a few things about the Glafkos Cleridis Foundation. The institute itself, it has made an impact on the political life, on a positive element. As you said, the 4 volumes of Glafkos Cleridis still is inspiring.
So the institute, I mean, it has a dual role. First of all, it is a policy think tank related to the Democratic Rally and operating, let's say, under the broad umbrella of the EPP political family. We are a member of the Martens Center for European Studies. So a policy think tank, a center-right policy think tank. And secondly, through the institute, we try to preserve the let's say the political legacy of Cleridis. And what is it?
The influence of decisions.
The main characteristic is, I would say, rational decision making, a willingness to stand against the popular tide, if needed, facing even the public opinion in order to promote and defend what is right, let's say, for the country, what's in favor of the national interests, what's good for country, people, and let's say the Hellenes of this island, essentially.
I know that your work has been great with the Institute, and lately with your chairmanship, the impact has been made quite evident. What has changed? Like, are we more extroverted at a time where intensified negotiations, not only in Cyprus, but for all areas which have conflicts or frozen conflicts or waiting to establish some sort of solution? At the same time, Cyprus being the last divided country in the European Union, an illegally invaded country. So I guess the impact of the Glafkos Cleridis Institute is bigger than ever before, and the necessity of it is also important.
Look, I would position our, I mean, same goes for strategy international, I would say. So I would position this broader political, academic, research, think tank activity in what could be the new role for Cyprus. Because we spoke about the post-1974 era, which has shaped Cyprus. Even though this is still an open wound, Cyprus has been able to move on. And
development has been massive since.
And this is a game-changing positive.
Because like this, you can negotiate with a stronger view.
Exactly. Actually, without wanting to jump into too many points, actually, in part, it partially cancels the Turkish objectives.
Right.
But what's my point? We were a single issue country for too long, justifiably. We were attacked. Part of the island was occupied. We were our politics was single issue, Cyprus problem related. Our lives, our activities were single issue related. It is a good thing that Cyprus is now able to become more relevant. Right. I don't think Cyprus was relevant, and you can never be relevant for your partners and for your region if you're a single issue country.
Of course.
So the issue is still there. The issue is still there. The Turkish occupation is still a painful fact, but we are not a single issue country. Our politics, our economics, our let's say the academic, the research activity, it's no longer a single issue, let's say, dimension. Cyprus has evolved into a credible actor in the region, and this shapes our political activity also.
Right. I'm going a step back. What is the date of entrance into the Democratic Rally, DC? What is the date? Like,
it's a week after I finished my army service.
Good.
And a week before I started my studies at university. So it was a very deliberate decision that after I complete my service in the National Guard and before starting off my studies, I would join the party, starting off from the, let's say, the student wing of the party. So I know exactly when I started. It was September 1992. I know who was the person to whom I showed up. So I was a walk-in. I wasn't recruited by somebody, but I walked
voluntarily.
Voluntarily. We're still friends with the person who filled in my form, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. So you end up being with the previous government of Anastasiades' government, among others, the Minister of Finance, during a very turbulent period vis-a-vis the reshaping, if you want, of the economic concerns of the European Union. And I remember vividly, yourself as a minister, you were extremely pro-European. You wanted to be engaged in a practical sense. You were defining Cyprus as a must vis-a-vis the economic prosperity of Europe, being the transit between the East and the West, the first entrance of the European Union from the South and the East of the Middle East, the Gulf, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, you were talking about major structural changes that were always required. They're still required, obviously. But you made an impact into this because, as I said, the environment, considering that Greece was also in the IMF, everybody was in the IMF, started from Iceland, actually. It didn't start from the fallout of the economic started from Iceland, not actually Greece. But then again, Greece was affected. Cyprus was affected later from the whole thing, and structural changes take place. What were the main challenges that you had to face, maybe on an everyday basis, but rather also on the strategic level? And how did you showcase the competence of leadership, of your skills and your competence vis-a-vis the Europeans?
Okay, first of all, there was a European dimension, definitely, going both ways, actually. Cyprus's participation in the Eurozone was hanging from a thread. Such was the severity, let's say, of the crisis, because the economy, an otherwise dynamic economy, it was derailed. It was completely off the tracks. So it was hanging from a thread, including our participation in the Eurozone. For me, that would have been a disaster, both economically, socially,
of course.
For the welfare of the people. I mean, the devaluation would have been a calamity, but also politically. because
with an impact in the geopolitics as well.
Exactly.
Not only the economics.
So the objective was to keep Cyprus in a European track. But you are absolutely right that there was the other side of the coin was that through, let's say, maintaining Cyprus's European vocation, Europe had to gain, because I strongly believe that Cyprus is the, let's say, the forward base of Europe, of the European Union, of the West in the East Med. So the benefit goes both ways. The main challenge, Marius, was to restore the confidence, because from my experience and taking over the finance ministry, I also carried private sector experience. So I used to run a family business. I would say I know firsthand
how it's set up and
how the economy all the way down to, let's say, a small or medium-sized company works, how profit is made, how loss can be made, how a loan can be repaid, what it means to hire people, to maintain jobs.
Right.
Everything depends on confidence, and confidence was shattered. Depositor confidence, thus we had a flight of a run on deposits. The banks were under collapse. We had an investor confidence, consumer confidence, every confidence had collapsed. So the primary objective of our policy, my objective essentially, was to restore confidence, and that needed a set of actions. For instance, balancing the budget in one go over a single, let's say, fiscal year. That allowed us to start introducing tax breaks, not tax hikes. Tax breaks.
Unlike Greece, that was going up and up and up and up.
I have to say that I was closely following the Greek, let's say, example. It was not one to follow. Ireland's example was one to follow. My eyes was on the much more successful Irish example.
Because the Irish went fast out.
That's it. I mean, moving fast is key. If you get stuck in a second, let's say, support program, and the third, it's a disaster. So moving fast, restoring confidence, and having faith, ultimately, that the fundamentals of the Cyprus economy were still sound. I always believed that we could recover, and that we could then play a much more promising role throughout the region, as I said, as a European outpost, both politically and economically, and as a very credible partner for the Middle East and the East Med.
And I think partially also your work has to do with today's success with the economy, because there is a continuity, obviously. I mean,
well, there is a continuity. Look, anyone who is in politics, by definition, is not very modest, but I cannot personally, let's say, claim the ownership of this effort.
No, it's not about ownership. It's about efficiency at a time of challenge.
I mean, first of all, it was an effort of the people, of the business community, of the workers. They bore, let's say, the brunt.
The society was working to fix the economy.
And because we often complain about one thing and the other, I think society, the people, were behind the effort. We were able to explain what needs to be done, and the people joined the effort.
Which is quite evident as well.
Yes. So credit goes to the Cypriot people, to the productive sectors, let's say, of our society and the economy. But yes, policies matter, and the policies of, let's say,
how you speak to the people, how you transpire the message, how you act.
messages,
in
but
terms of
also
deliverables.
actions, Marius. Okay,
Exactly,
because
exactly, deliverables.
communication without substance is not going to take you far.
Yeah.
So the difficult decisions and actions and measures and reforms, completely overhauling the banking sector, for instance, and then balancing the public finances, promoting in pro-business and pro-investment incentives. I think it was a rather pro-business and pro-investment mix of policies. It worked. I'm satisfied that overall the current administration is maintaining the course, and we are seeing the results.
And if somebody sees your announcement vis-a-vis, I'm going back to the European elements, because you had made, it was very difficult at a time to take the supranational, if you want, entity, like, understanding the European framework. You're very close with the ECOFIN, other leaders of the European, and at some point your name was playing very highly into the European
not
levels.
At the beginning, okay.
Not at the beginning. At the beginning, it was the tough introduction.
I mean, I was 41, and I was only, let's say, behind me I had a 2-year service in the parliament. I wasn't, let's say, a very experienced, veteran politician. So I joined the ranks of the Eurogroup and the ECOFIN as a young outsider, without
walking in the room
walking in. Well, yeah, a room, or let's say, I had a more ominous impression of where I was entering. But over the years, and I think the good results of this effort, the broad effort of our country helped. Yes, I think I gained credibility, which was not a personal credibility. I was, let's say, representative of the country. It wasn't personal. So
you had to bear in mind always.
But this credibility was essentially a credibility of the country. So yes, by the end of my term, I think I was together with my Maltese colleague, I was the longest serving finance minister. So I became a veteran and a much more credible.
At some point, your name, if I'm correct, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. But in the European Union framework, your name played for European positions, for high level finance level positions. If I'm right or wrong. Because that is the credibility that you proposed. This is the European element.
Names can be mentioned,
of course.
But I never actually pursued a job or a role outside Cyprus. I remain committed to this country, to this homeland, and also to my family. So both my public service as I view it, but also my family, do not, let's say, never offered me, let's say, a real prospect that I would move out. So even though names are mentioned, and this is not uncommon, it wasn't something that I pursued.
Right. Then follows up. You finish your terms as a minister of finance, and then comes.
So I saw the re-election to the parliament. And since 2021, so I stayed, as you said, 2 terms as finance minister, almost 7 years. Since 2021, I'm chairman of the Foreign and European Affairs Committee of the Cyprus Parliament. I will be standing down in a year's time, and a more recent position that I have undertaken is the one that we have already discussed, the Clarides Institute, which is something which I find very interesting, and I look forward to continuing my work there also.
Great. So now let's skip a bit and let's go into the foreign affairs. So since you are president of the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs, let's go a bit on the analysis, a mixture between think tank and politics, policy therefore, a bit of analysis vis-a-vis what's happening around the world. 100 days plus of a new Trump administration, shaking of a lot of, again, financial statements and financial collaborations, let's say the UK-US agreement, the ongoing negotiations of the European Union with the US on global tariffs, and at the same time we have a lot of challenges, strategic in nature, war situations around us, Lebanon, Syria, the fight against the terrorists against Hamas and Hezbollah, humanitarian issues that have risen on and about the future of the Palestinian Authority, if they can lead to a two-state solution. Emerging relations between Cyprus and the Gulf states, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and goes on and on and on, plus the strategic relationship between Israel and Cyprus. On a wider scale, we have the evolving disintegration of relations between India and Pakistan. We have the cases of the competition between US, China, and goes on and on and on. Give us, if you want, an initial overview of how you think things may go. Like if we can forecast, considering the daily,
I can't.
You cannot.
I cannot.
Volatility is everywhere.
I think we're going through very uncertain times. Exactly. Honestly, I cannot predict the future, and this is the main characteristic of global politics and the global economy.
Are we looking at the end of like establishments and balances of power?
Well, it is. We probably are at the end of an era and the beginning of a new one.
Which we're yet to decipher.
Exactly. Definitely, trying to link our previous discussion with, let's say, this broader perspective, definitely economics and politics are interlinked. This, however, may be something that at European level, or even at the more broadly the West, maybe we underestimated, believing that we can focus on our economic prosperity and not so much so on the geopolitical dimension and the, let's say, the high political dimension of foreign policy and security policy.
Can I challenge this a bit? In what sense? How can one progress on a safe grounds of development, considering that safety, not security only, safety is not guaranteed?
But this is exactly the point I'm making.
Right.
I agree with this.
Right.
So I think we may have erred, definitely the European Union, believing that, let's say, safety and security are for granted, so we can focus on our social and economic prosperity. This was short-sighted, and we were suddenly awakened to this new state of affairs globally, where things that we have been taking for granted, including our safety and security, no longer hold. So I think we do need to revisit our core, let's say, priorities and our direction, understanding better this time around that our economic prosperity cannot hold without the geopolitical dimension.
Right.
So Europe is an economic giant, but it is a geopolitical dwarf. This has to change. And if we focus more closely on our region, I think more or less it's the same story.
Right.
So we pretend. When I say we, I speak through a European, let's say, dimension.
The framework.
Not the Cypriot, a broader European dimension.
But what about the Cypriot one? Because Cyprus is, you mentioned two things that I keep. Daily volatility, so we cannot go deep into the subjects. We may be able to forecast something, but that may be overturned in a blink of an eye. So that is a main characteristic of our society today. And the second thing is that without safety, you cannot guarantee development. But then you have Cyprus, which is the first entrance, or the last exit, if you want, of the European Union to the Middle East and the Gulf and so on and so forth. So we have to take extra precautionary measures. So we read, for example, that Frontex will increase its people, double, triple the population and the budgets. And you have also rearm Europe, and you have a European decision that they want to become agile, and if I may call it like this, agility, to provide agility and continuity, if you want, in security by 2030. The problem is that the conflict is that on a daily basis we don't know what's going to happen, and then we're scheduling by 2030, which is already long term. And Cyprus, as an example, is a country that has to survive over these hybrid threats. When I'm saying hybrid threats, I'm talking about illegal migration, I'm talking about illicit weapons, I'm talking about the strategic dialogue, for example, with the United States that is ongoing. So the United States wants to see development, stability, security, development, infrastructures, and so on and so forth. So how do you manage those two as a European, as the head of the parliamentary committee, if you want, or...
I mean, we cannot turn the clock back because at the European level, we were mistaken on a number, let's see, of points, being energy reliant on Putin's Russia and cutting our defense expenditure after the end of the Cold War to below half. I think it was down to a third of its previous level. So, okay, we cannot turn the clock back. So indeed, we have to move fast. On the other hand, the EU has traditionally been making strides during conditions of crisis. So maybe this will be this uncertain environment will actually force us at the European level to take the steps that we should have taken long time ago, but maybe now the situation will encourage this transformation of the European Union into a more geopolitical Europe. And this applies also to our region, and this is the role that Cyprus can play. First of all, encouraging a much more direct, stronger, and more effective European involvement in the region. The EU has been absent to a large extent. I don't want to exaggerate,
but no, this is the truth. This is true.
From the region, offering.
But we need a more global Europe, and that includes a peripheral Europe.
Yes, offering aid, it's not enough. Sometimes actually offering aid can backfire.
Lebanon, 2 billion. Then Nasrallah was threatening Cyprus for the first time ever.
And even aid going into Gaza. Was it used for the purpose that it was meant to, or was it partly our aid, our money, that created, let's say, for instance, this vast underground net?
So it doesn't come with a plan of reconstruction, you mean? It doesn't come with a plan of reconstruction, it just comes with a plan of stability.
No, we cannot keep offering blank checks
No, of
and
course not.
believing that this is
That's a deficit check too, by the way.
that's job done. We did
But that
our
requires a more Europe, a more globalized Europe.
definitely, and one which will be more involved in the East Med
course.
and the Middle East, and Cyprus, as I said, can be a key player in this effort. Secondly, we need partners and allies in this effort. So one should be the US.
Right.
I know that
You are a
currently,
proponent of it as well. If I'm correct,
say again.
you are a proponent of the US
Definitely,
relations.
definitely. I know that as we speak, there is this trend towards a more isolationist and more protectionist approach. I still believe that it is crucial both for the US, also for Europe, also for our region, to maintain strong US involvement in the East Med. So 3+1 configurations, for instance, must be maintained. Who else do we need? We need the moderate powers in the region. We need Egypt. We need Jordan. We need reformed Lebanon. And we need the Gulf states, definitely. And
to stabilize Syria or stabilize instability regions and so on.
Yes.
If
we were to, it should be. If we work together, we can succeed in first of all maintaining stability, security, maintaining the maritime routes, the energy routes, controlling migration, and never allowing again extremist Islamic terror groups like Hamas and Hezbollah to dictate the fate of our region. Right. So if we work together, a more an EU which will have a more cohesive foreign and security policy, working together with the US, partnering up with Israel, but also the moderate Arab states in the region. That's a more promising future. That's what we have to work for, and this is what I have been advocating in all my capacities.
Within the framework of those deliverables, as you said, I'll go back to Realm Europe. We're going to 2030. At the same time, we're bringing a reliance of energy security to be, by 2027, non-reliant 100% to Russian exports. So we're looking obviously at a divide. After post-war Ukraine, after all wars and things, it seems that reliance of Europe should be on its own feet with, as you said, moderate powers or allies, strategic allies. So the question is, are we looking, and I'll insist on this, because what you're claiming is a more involved EU in a global scale with practices not only of financial concern, but also political concern, boots on the grounds, I will call it.
Well said, yes, exactly.
But these boots on the grounds have to have decisive and specific information and knowledge and capacity to lead on a global Europe. This is very good. I concur also with this. I am not that sure that...
if we're going to get there.
Yes, exactly, because you just said earlier, volatility is daily. So things may change. For example, you remember the blackouts in France, Paris, and in Spain? It overturned the discussion, even for a bit, on energy, but not energy security, but rather energy scarcity or utility of energy through national infrastructures, as an example case. Then an earthquake takes place, and there are thousands of dead in the immediate neighborhood, let's say, in Turkey, in the Balkans, and suddenly there's solidarity, attempts for crisis management operations, so on, or even inside Europe. fires, so natural disasters and crises in the south of Europe mostly. We've seen what happened in 2024. It seems that there's no depth. It's like we're waiting for something to happen and then we react on this. That's why I'm asking, don't we need to have maybe a depth, like any case scenario, long term or short term, daily or weekly or monthly, that we should be able to evolve and through this create a strategy? Because now what we do is, yes, we need to build on an industry on defense, for example, on a foreign policy capabilities. We have a EU foreign affairs minister, if I can call it like this, and we still need a more deeper Europe, a more fast, less bureaucratic, more efficient, more facilitated Europe. What's your take on this?
Look, definitely much needs to be done. I mean, we are nowhere near where we should be. So there is much to be done. Will we be successful? I do not know. Right. But definitely, this should be the objective. This is what I'm advocating for, and this is what we should try to do. Will we succeed? So will we be in a much better position, let's say, 5 years down the road? I do not know. I do not have a crystal ball. But this is what we should aim for. I offered, let's say, maybe a glimpse of optimism relating to this pattern, which we have seen before, of actually the European Union making the decisive steps when it is maybe violently woken up, challenged, facing a crisis. So
has been challenged quite a lot.
Take the economy. The economy, which now, let's say, the foundations of our integrated economies are much stronger.
It's a powerhouse.
Why?
Global powerhouse.
Why? Because after the economic crisis, 2008, 2010, for some member states,
2013 and goes on.
It lasted longer. Action was taken, unprecedented action relating to previous, let's say, perceptions and positions. I hope that with everything that is happening around us, something similar could happen on the geopolitical and security defense dimension, because now we have fully realized that the one aspect, let's say the economic and social prosperity, cannot be maintained without the security dimension. So this is it. You said we spoke about Russia. Okay, there again, I wouldn't be willing to give up on Russia. Again, it's more of a hope, an aspiration, rather than a tangible prospect, at the least an immediate one. But I do hope that through this effort we shall be able to see Russia, let's say, reintegrating into the world order and becoming once again a partner for Europe and the West. We're not there yet.
No.
But this is, again, what we should aim for.
Right.
But to be able to work for such objectives, safety and stability in the Middle East and the East Med, and a new relation with reformed Russia, I would even say a much more credible, well-thought policy regarding Turkey, which regrettably is another factor of instability in the region. We need to be stronger and more cohesive. We need a more cohesive foreign, security, and defense policy. We have to be able to act as a regional and global actor much more effectively. And we as a member state, small member state in this part of the union, we do have a role to play. We do have a significant role to play in this direction.
That was my last question. I mean, how do you envision within this framework, Cyprus? There are a lot like Cyprus, Israel, Greece, Cyprus, Israel, Greece, Cyprus, UAE, Greece, Cyprus, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and goes on and on and on. Pivotal importance, the geostrategic location of Cyprus.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that small in that sense. And one, because it's a big island. So
we can definitely punch above our weight, I would say, both economically and politically. Take the economy. It's not the significance and the prospects relating to the economy. It's not the local economy of 1 million whatever people.
No.
Cyprus is a base.
Oh yeah.
Cyprus is a base from which to conduct business and to channel investment throughout the region. One foot into the European Union, the other, let's say, into the region of the Middle East, Central Asia, and even. Likewise, when it comes to politics, to regional politics, we are in the privileged position to have excellent relations with all our neighbors.
And they're listening.
Say again?
And they're listening.
They are.
Importantly.
They are. With the exception of Turkey, of course. And that's why I said I do hope that we shall be able to work with our EU partners in formulating a much more credible, well-thought Turkey policy, because the objective should be to include Turkey in this regional network of collaboration and opportunities. We're not there yet because of Turkish policy, because of who they are and how they operate. But this should not prevent us from having this positive constructive role whereby Cyprus will be relevant for our European partners, for the US, for Israel.
So it's a European and global identity within the framework of global politics.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this. And allow me to say that, as we were talking, that the reason why we created Strategy International, I think this is also because it's a policy-related element, is that we strongly believed in that. We strongly believe that the role of Cyprus within the geostrategic framework of global powers, soft powers, small powers, or big ones, is very pivotal. And it is the time for Cyprus to take the lead on eventual mediations, negotiations, and considering also the opportunities. So you got the GSI, you got the interlink of electricity between Cyprus and Israel, for example. You got IMEC coming up. IMEC was already there years ago, but now it's more like in the surface, and people are much more aware of this. Plus also trading routes.
Oh, of course.
Trading routes.
So, I mean, I would say there are challenges that we must face, but there are also huge opportunities, huge prospects which we can explore. And I wish you every success also as Strategy International. You can definitely be a part of this effort.
Thank you very much. Thank you, dear Hadis. Thank you very much for honoring us and joining us in a very important and deep discussion. As I said earlier behind the cameras, is that the aim is to go from Cyprus to the world. And that's exactly what we try to do today. I also think that your experience, both as a minister, but also as a political person who also worked in the private sectors and the public sectors, and you represent the Republic of Cyprus in a variety of levels, is very much important. And more so as chairman of the Glafos Cleridis, a historical personality, a leader of the Republic of Cyprus, a visionary leader, and along the lines, everybody who is working for that competence to understand more about European integration, European standards, operations, and opportunities that are ahead of us. So thank you very much, dear Hadis.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching another web series of Strategy International's Prime Analysis. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow into our social media and YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Marios Efthymiopoulos. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Strategy International. And remember, impact makes a difference.